Good morning, people. Today in Florida, here in Fort Myers, as you can see, it's gloomy, it's cloudy. I'm going to have a high of about 74 today, so I'm enjoying it. I'm not one to really be out in the sun a lot because I tend to burn pretty easy because of my pale skin. Um, I want to thank everybody that's been subscribing to my channel, that's been watching my videos, that's been sharing my videos. I'm up over 200 subscribers, and I've had over 16,000 views. From the one video alone, I can see a lot of my videos are watched by Canadians. Hi, Canada. I'm from Ohio, so I'm your neighbor to the south. Um, I've been seeing like a lot of like negativity, like a lot of you guys up in Canada is kind of angry. I get it. I've got nothing against Canadians. I've been to Canada. I've actually lived in another Commonwealth country. I lived in New Zealand for 4 years. Everybody's got their own 2 cents on what they want to put on with how things are going. One thing I do want to talk about that we've been experiencing, especially at this park and a few like some other we stayed at. There's been like not hate but more rudeness from some of these older people when they realize how young me and my girlfriend are. And of course they ask what I do for a living, and I tell them, and that like it bothers them, like that we shouldn't be able to afford to do stuff like this, be snowbirds. um, I don't have nothing against these younger guys that made a bunch of money off crypto. Kudos to them. I'm glad you did. I mean, I wish I'd been smart enough to, buy a Bitcoin when it was $3,000, or, bought in the XRP, which I did, but bought way before when I bought it. Because when I bought it, it was still under $1. But, a lot of these guys bought it when it was 2 cents, when it was 30 cents. I wish I could have bought it. Kudos to them. But that's one thing I did want to talk about, is just that mention is there are some people that are just downright rude. Like we go to the pool here where we're staying at. We go up, and my girlfriend's not one for the pool. I like being in the pool, just swim around, play around. We'll have some drinks from the bar, and she lays out and gets her likes to get her tan going. And they're like, some of these couples, more the women, they're like, give my girlfriend like real like mean looks and stuff like that. Like, what's your problem? There was one couple in particular that went on for, we went up, I'm trying to think here, we went to the pool back to back for about 3 days. And the first day, this one couple come in. It was kind of funny because I'm guessing they're probably in their early 60s, maybe mid 60s. And the woman's husband, he kept staring at my girlfriend, and he got up and he had like a half a chub, and she made him go get in the pool. But every time we've been up, the other time we've been up there and they've come in, she made her husband like go on the other side of the pool and turn his chair around where he's directly, facing the sun, where the chairs aren't set to be in the sun. Just have their back, just to have his back to us. I mean, it's funny just watching stuff like that. But that does bother some older people. It is what it is, Some people, what they do for a living, they can do stuff like this. Just like when we was at Sunshine Key on Ohio Key, down in the Florida Keys there, which is at 1,000 Trails, owned by Encore. There was a lot of people down there that were our age. There was some that were younger. They sold out while the prices were high on their houses and started living the RV life. A lot of them, I mentioned in the video over a month ago, are working remotely now. They had to find some extra work because money's, things are getting tight. The money they made, is probably getting slim, so they're working out of their campers. Just because somebody's at an RV park, or doing, living what is perceived to be, being snowbirds. They might not fully be snowbirds. They're still drawing an income, or they're still working. Excuse me, got my coffee. But that's one thing I wanted to talk about. Don't be rude to people. I mean, you don't know what their story is, or they hit it big or whatever it is. The other thing I want to talk about is I did see some negativity on a few videos, and I could tell they were from locals. And I get it. You're a business owner, or you're a realtor, whatever. You want to downplay what I'm showing you guys, and I'm not making none of this stuff up. I'm just showing you what's going on. In particular, like a lot of these getaway places, they post like pictures where they're busy, and they're old pictures. One place in particular in Key West that did this that I picked up on is a place called Dante's. And if you guys have not been there, it's like a big pool bar. Like, it's a huge pool. Then they got like the restaurant. It's like you can just stay there all day and drink and eat, or just play around the pool. People take their kids there. That do take kids to Key West. But they posted a picture where it was busy and tried to proclaim it was recent. And I'm like, but that's not right, because that picture is like from 3 years ago, and we was there when that picture was taken. So they're making things try to look better than what it is. You guys see what it is down here. I mean, I've showed you pictures of the beaches, how empty it is, videos from the beaches. You can even get on some of these places and view their webcams. And I mean, you can't go off of go on a Friday night and look at the webcam and take a screenshot of it and be like, oh, it's busy. Well, I get it, it's on a Friday night. Fridays and Saturdays are your busiest nights. But this is snowbird season, and this place should be filled mainly with older people. But a lot of these places should be filled up. Restaurants would be fully packed. There'd be wait times at these restaurants. And when we went to the beach the other day, we came back, and it was during supper hour, when everybody should be eating at restaurants, and we got right in. It was the restaurant was maybe a third of the way packed. So it's just some things I'm picking up on that I see post on Facebook or Instagram, and they're not true. We'll be here at this park. This is our last day here. We leave tomorrow. We will be heading out to Pine Island, which I looked it up, and it is the largest island on the west coast of Florida. It's roughly, I think it's like 2 miles wide, maybe 3 in some spots with the mangroves, and it's 17 miles long. There's a KOA out there. We're going to be staying at that, and we're going to experience the island. I'm kind of hoping that we enjoy it like we do Key West. I said in some other videos I mentioned before, my grandparents, this was their home for from the late 60s up until 2000, when my grandpa passed away. They were natives down, well, not natives, but I mean, they lived down here in Fort Myers. So when I was here as a child, up until I think 1991 was the last time I was down in Fort Myers. A lot of this has changed. I do remember, with me being from Ohio, if y'all remember when Hurricane Andrew hit and it slammed into Miami and wrecked Homestead, there was commercials on the TV that had Collier County, which is Naples, and Lee County, which is Fort Myers, that those areas did not get affected by Hurricane Andrew. And that's when this whole southwest part of Florida just exploded with people. I remember Grandpa was telling me just all the development that was going on with people. Just, they left like Homestead. We've been through Homestead multiple times. If you've ever been to Homestead, or recent, within the last 30 years, there's a lot of homestead on the south side where Andrew went through, wiped it out, and they never did rebuild. It's still just slabs where trailers used to be. It's just been sitting empty. They never did rebuild none of that. I did notice that the apartments they're building down there, or townhouses, on the same thing, condo, they're building them out of block, concrete block. That's going to hold up a lot better against a hurricane, if that area ever does get hit again. But it was an experience going out to Fort Myers Beach, because the last time I was out there, what was I, 12 or 13, the minute you crossed over the bridge onto Fort Myers Beach, on the island itself, there was a parking lot. I think it was on the right, if I'm remembering back that far. Like I said, I'm in my 40s. And then there was a Dairy Queen, like right where the bridge kind of ended, and then the beach. Now, like, all that's gone. I talked to a lady where when we went down the other day, where we parked at, and she said, yeah, they took that Dairy Queen out. She said all that got ripped out. All new development. There are some spots that are still empty from where the hurricane that hit in 2023 took out. They're just remnants of footers, foundations. I mean, hell, there's one, there's still a pool it was all left, and you can still read the how deep the pool was in spots, and they've kind of filled it in, or sand's blown up in there. Yeah, we're having fun. This is an experience. Just getting out to go see stuff. I will say this highway we're on, there's some locals that claim that we're we're way far away from Fort Myers, when we're really not. You head west, and I'm in Fort Myers within 10, like Lehigh Acres, I think that's the name of it. Which my grandmother, my maternal grandma, lived there. Right before my grandpa passed away. That was all being developed. That was back in the the late 90s, because my grandma retired in 92 from being a school bus driver, and she moved down here full time. But it's just a lot of this stuff's built up. It wasn't there when I was here last. But like I said, we're going to head to Pine Island. I looked at some satellite views of the island on Google. It looks like it's mainly a farming island, which is shocking because it's an island. Excuse me. But when I did some reading on it, that island's not like its sandy neighbors to the west, like Sanibel, Captiva, Fort Myers Beach. It's more like a inner island because it's on the intercoastal waterway. So it'll be kind of neat to go see all that. But I do appreciate everybody that's been supporting my channel, subscribing, and all that. Share my videos. I'm trying to get my numbers up. I really enjoy doing this and showing you guys what's going on and talking about what's going on in real estate. There's been there was a lot of comments from the Canadians about that they're causing all this. It's not just you guys that's causing all this going on. I mean, people are out of money. I'm from Ohio, and I'm a landlord. I own a bunch of rental properties. I bought back when '08 hit. As I mentioned before, the bulk of my houses were foreclosures. I picked them up for pennies on a dollar, and I mean pennies. Like, we're talking in the teens and low 20s I paid for these houses. And it's a combination of, people's out of money, their credit's tapped. We've seen how high the credit card debt is. Canadians aren't coming down. Well, there are Canadians here. They're friendly. There was one I was talking to. They're from Hamilton, up in Ontario. And morning. And this is their first time coming down, and they're KOAers. They said they're KOA people like We are, and we were talking about different KOAs, and we were talking about this park in general, and he had to come to the same conclusion I've come to. And on the video I made yesterday, I kept pausing the video so I could try to get the whole park in to one video. And there's no way they're even making payroll here. I mean, there's probably more workers here than there are people staying. And you're not making payroll. You still got your utility bills you got to cover for everything. You still got to cover your insurance, your taxes. I mean, I don't know how long this place is going to be able to stay open for, but you can't run at a deficit constantly like our countries do. They just keep printing money like crazy. But it's I don't know. The places we drive by, and we're going to continue to drive by. You know, I'm keeping an eye out. I'm like trying to count and really see how busy things are. Like when we left Sugarloaf Key KOA, it's on the Key West side of the Keys. We're coming up Route 1, you know, back to the mainland, and probably I'm going to say from Marathon, I really started paying attention onwards. There's a slew of for sale signs out there on all these properties, and I don't know how many of those they're legitimate sales. How many could be the owner they cannot sustain, you know, the payment on top of their insurance they're paying, and they're trying to sell it before it goes into foreclosure. Because like I'd said, that when a property goes into foreclosure, if I have a house for sale and I've listed it because I know I cannot continue to stay there, I can't afford it, that if I don't get it sold before it goes into foreclosure, when it goes into foreclosure, the listing gets pulled off the MLS. I no longer technically own the house. The bank has, you know, they're the owners because they're repossessing it. So those get pulled off the table. I'm reading comments on some real estate, channels I watch, where a lot of these owners down here are taking huge hits. You know, what they paid for the house from 2021, 22, 23, even 24, and they're trying to sell it, and they're selling it either at a break even on paper or a slight loss. Well, then by the time you add in, you're paying, you know, your realtor, you're paying the closing cost. One guy took a $50,000 hit over what he paid for it, you know, and because he said he wasn't going to be able to sustain it, and he would rather just had ate the money out of you know, having to eat up his savings than lose the property. No, like I said, I'm going to keep reporting. I really like doing this. I really appreciate you guys supporting me. Like I said, I'm friendly to the Canadians. They're friendly to me. I've got nothing against Canadians. I do like seeing your feed, and elbows up, I'm not sure what that means. I don't, you know, like that. I don't know. I know we've always had rivals with you guys with hockey, the Columbus Blue Jackets, because like I said, I live in Ohio. I'm probably halfway between Cincinnati and Columbus. I'm along I-71, where I live at, a small farm town. No, like I said, I'm going to keep reporting, and I do appreciate, you know, your feedback. Just be nice about it. I mean, I don't have nothing against anybody. It is what it is. I'm looking forward to this crash getting worse. My big thing is Tennessee. Excuse me. I love the mountains. I remember back in 2012, I'm going to tell you this one house. It was a cabin we stayed at. It was outside of Sevierville to the west. Yeah, because you had to go to Sevierville, excuse me, and there was a Kroger's on the right. And you had to turn to the right and head out that way, out towards Wares Valley. That's it. And it was a nice cabin. It was a downstairs. It had like a great room, a living room, kitchen. And you could go upstairs to a loft. There was a bedroom, a bathroom. Then downstairs, it had a nice full master bedroom, then it had a vanity, then the bathroom along the side, and it had a screened-in back porch. It had a 2-car detached garage, and they were 2 separate doors, not one big door, so it was a big garage. And it sat on 3/4 of an acre. And you had other cabins there, but it was set up more like a housing development area where you wasn't on top of one another. And I remember, and like I said, this was 2012. This was during the peak of when everything was in the tanks. And it was for sale when we were staying in it. I forget the name of the company that had it listed. And I called down to the realtor and talked to her. And I said, "What's this place going? What's the asking price?" And she said $75,000. But if you offer 70, they'll take it. Well, at the time, that's when I was buying my houses in my hometown, the foreclosures, and I passed on it. The property sold for $70,000. I looked it up, and that person resold it for $200, and I think it was $65,000. Maybe in 2016, 15. The people that bought it then resold it in 2022 for $800,000. So that's neither here nor there. But hypothetically, if I'd have bought it for 70 and I would have held it, I could have sold it for $800,000. And made 1,000% on my money. But just interesting. It was funny how that worked out. But no, I do want to see these prices come down like everybody else. They're too high. They're all inflated, and your county auditors, they're loving it, because the more our prices are inflated, the higher the assessment, the more taxes they collect. And it's going to turn out just like '08 did. When they had to devalue the houses, I believe it was 2011, they finally come out in the new assessment. This is in Ohio. They devalued back in 2011, and then because the revenue dropped from the assessments, the new lower price, well, these municipalities and counties were used to that revenue coming in. When it dropped, they had to do an emergency reassessment because they didn't even have enough money to continue operating based on what they were used to spending. You'll see that again. You're not going to see it this year. I know in Ohio, our taxes are going up again. My insurance probably will go up again. This went up like the last 2 years in a row. And like I said, last year, my taxes went up 50%. And they doubled from what I was paying. It's ridiculous. But no, like I said, stay tuned. I'm going to keep creating content. I hope you all like it. I do hope you guys continue to subscribe to my page. Like my videos, share them. I like things getting out, and I'll continue letting you guys know what I see and just show you what's going on. Thanks.